Classifying polynomials. The word polynomials just comes from the prefix poly, which means many, and nomial, which means names. A polynomial can be anything as far as it's an algebraic expression. A couple of things you can't have. You can't have, for it to be a polynomial, variables in the denominator. You also can't have square roots, like as far as x under the square root. Now you can have square root of 2 and then an x, but just not square root of x under there. You also can't have trig things like sine of x, cosine of x. And those are actually the three things to watch for. But unless it meets one of those criteria, it will be a polynomial. Let me write. Let's say probably if I had this. This is actually, if you look as far as a term, you'll hear me say that, is divided by either an addition or subtraction sign. So this one, there's 1, 2, 3 terms, so it's called a trinomial. If it only has 2 terms, like let's say this, it would be a binomial. If it's just one big term, in other words, nothing being added or subtracted, it's a monomial. Now, anything above 4 is just reverted back to a polynomial. The only ones with special names are monomial, binomial, trinomial, or 1, 2, or 3 terms. So that's classifying it by name or by number of terms. You can also classify it by degrees. Degrees has to do with the number of variables and the highest variables that's in each particular term. For instance, if I had, let's say, 12x cubed y, we know it's a monomial, and its degree, well, you have 3 x's and understood 1, so 1y, so it's degree 4. Let's say if I had, 6x squared minus 8x plus 12. Well, if you have more than one term, you find the degree of each term and you don't add them up. That is the most common mistake I see with my students. Instead, you just compare them. Whichever one is largest, that's the one you're going to go with. So, for instance, this one has 2 x's, so there's 2 there. This has 1x, so 1. Constants have no x's, so that's 0. So the biggest number out of those is, of course, 2. Let's say 4x cubed plus 7x squared y to the 4th minus 10xy. Same principle. X squared, so that one has 3 variables. X cubed. X squared y to the 4th, that one has 6. 2x's, 4 y's. 1x and 1y, so 2. So the largest number represented out of 3, 6, and 2, 6. Sometimes probably the trickiest one is, let's say I said something like 18. Well, as you can see, 18 has no variables, so it would just be degree 0. Hope this was some help. See you soon.